Hi everybody, how's everybody doing today? I hope you're staying busy. Um, I just wanted to talk about a couple little things real quick. You know, with everything the way it is, there's just so much change going on in the world, and we're so more aware of it now with the internet. So, do you really feel that you can be everything that you want to be or what you're called to be? So, maybe there's a difference between what you think you're called to be versus what you're really called to be. So, some people don't think about all this stuff, maybe, or who has time. So, but anyway, that's mainly what I wanted to just mention. We have to stay kind of upbeat and positive, but we will have days when we're kind of renegotiating what we're doing, but we can't overthink things too much either. So, I guess that's my cat. He just jumped up there. So, but anyway, it's just something to think about. We have to sort of have a balancing act between what we want to do and what we think we need to do. I personally have a faith, but even then you can get kind of discouraged or think, well, maybe what I want to do is not what I'm being called to do or whatever. But in regards to work, though, I've always just tried to get jobs that I enjoyed, but whenever I couldn't, I just worked at jobs I didn't like. So you have to do both, you know? I mean, everybody does. But acting can be really fun, but you have to really, I think you have to really just love it a lot. And the thing of it is, you have to be very creative because it's not always that easy to find all the roles you want. And it takes time, money, and energy and effort to get involved in theater and certain things in classes that you know where you don't always make money right up off the bat. So, but I am starting to do the voiceover auditions in addition to the on-camera auditions, and then the idea of selling insurance has become so difficult because I used to do that, but it was never easy. It was on strictly commission, and you have to find all your own customers. I've been doing that on and off since the 90s, and substitute teaching as well. Very challenging. I was at a school where they had an active shooter, and a long time ago, but it stays with you. It's just a lot of stress, and they always are running, fire drills or earthquake drills. When I lived out in California and subbing, or here they run all kinds of, active alerts on campus drills, and sometimes you don't even know if it's real or not. So, but if you have faith in God and everything, you just sort of believe in the great realm and everything. So, but still, we're just here. Even if you live to be 99, like my grandmother, my mom only lived to be 80 because she got cancer. So, and I sort of got reminded of her again because Diane Keaton kind of reminded me a little bit of my mom. She was more of a thin person than me. I took more after my grandmother. So, but I have been slim before in life, on and off, and I can be, and but never really thin, But sometimes that's really good though because my mom could just, when we went on an airplane, she was able to just bop around, get in and out of the seats, and it's kind of, life is easier, I think, the less you weigh. Anyway, I get off on these little tangents, but I was really sad to hear about Diane Keaton because it reminded me of how short life is, and I'm just running behind her, and I have to take care of my health so that, God willing, I can live to be 99 like my grandmother. But and also I've had a number of boyfriends in my life and was married once, but it is hard to find the right man to settle down with. And, you know, and she had a number of different men that she dated, but sometimes it's not always easy to be the one that's chosen, you know, to be married, or sometimes the more aggressive women will get in there and flirt a lot more or whatever. I'm very friendly, but I was never a flirt, you know. Well, I can be a little bit. Depends, you know. When back in the days when we went out and had some drinks or something. But even then, but no, it just sort of reminds us each time these things happen of our, you know, mortality. We're all here for a short time. Of course, I do believe in heaven as a Catholic and everything, and you know, it's really sad, and how instantly things can happen, you know. That was really sad about Charlie Kirk and everything. I mean, you never know in life, you know. We can all like just hope for the best, but if like me, you've probably had a lot of close calls in life, and you wondered if angels were helping you, especially when you're driving on the interstate. Especially when I was in my 20s driving on the interstate, you know. As I got older, of course, you get better and better at driving and everything, and I've driven to California and back before quite a few times back when I moved back there, and back in the now I'm old enough to say back in the good old days when I had more money or extra money or made more money or whatever. But I'm at a point in my life where I've got to really kind of get really super disciplined and, you know, hunker down and figure this out. You know, I guess I could start playing lottery tickets or something. But in the meantime, I live very frugally in this place, and I could maybe sell some of these books still, but you know, but that was the overall theme, not to go on all these tangents, is we only have a certain amount of time in life. And I think it's really cool, though, that Diane Keaton had a very successful life, though, because she didn't let that deter her from pursuing success. Because pursuing success in Hollywood is very challenging and can be very difficult. And you have to just hang in there and keep, you know, promoting yourself and keep auditioning and keep networking and meeting people, working on your craft. And, you know, I don't mean to keep harping on the fact that there still are around 1.7 million actors on the planet, of which 160,000 are in SAG-AFTRA, but that's true. And most actors have to have another job or business or several other jobs and businesses. And, you know, I was kind of researching her life, and she did some writing and producing and real estate investing, and you know, just like a lot of those stars do. But you think about it, life is so short. But I think that's cool, because there's been times in my life when I was doing better or becoming a little more successful in all my different jobs and careers and everything. And then if I was in between boyfriends, or, you know, was discouraged about, you know, some of the relationships I've been in that were not, that were kind of a little scary, or they just weren't the right guys, or, you know, not kind of toxic or whatever, because I used to be kind of too sweet, doormat. I still kind of am a little bit, but I'm pretty, you know, I pretty much am aware of a lot more now than I used to be, and I just don't have the time for, you know, gaslighting and games and goofiness. But, you know, you think about it, you don't really know for sure if somebody's the right person or not sometimes. But I think some people do. I think some people instantaneously, because I've seen it happen and they're still together. But some of us, you know, like me, we may from a distance admire someone or feel feelings for someone, or for whatever reason we cannot meet with this person, or you know, maybe, you know, whatever, or we just don't, I don't know, it just doesn't work, or that person may not be attracted to to me, you know, and you have to be realistic. You know, maybe I'm just maybe not that person's type. You know, if they like, you know, super young, skinny girls, that's, you know, I can't do anything about that. I could do something about my weight, though. I can keep losing weight. I can get better shape. I can be, I'm very young for my age, and I can get healthier and healthier with fruit and vegetables and maybe be a little more like my granny and my mom, you know, but because my mom was really healthy except for that, you know, when she got cancer, that can affect anyone, and that was female cancer, and that's has a lot to do with the woman's organs and everything. That's a whole nother thing. But yeah, we're just here for a short time, and when we're called to something, we have to see the big picture. But I think, I do think part of my calling is to let people know that however much we want all these hopes and dreams to come true, I've had some hopes and dreams come true, and then I've had many things that have not come true. And I'm here to tell you that it can be disappointing and sad, especially the younger people. But you know what? It's really not as bad as you think it's going to be. You know, because I used to think, oh my God, if I didn't have a baby and the right man or whatever by a certain age, you know, I was just, oh my God, I'm just going to have a total nervous, you know, whatever down. So it's like, but I didn't, you know, mostly because you got to keep going. You got to keep paying the bills. You got to keep doing the housework. I think the biggest part in life, and I think most of us, just the drudgery in life and the mediocrity of life, that's what really can wear us down if we're not careful. I think we all should try to figure out a way to make at least enough extra money so that maybe once in a while we could get somebody to help us clean or organize or declutter. But in the meantime, most of that stuff, like 90% of it, we are going to have to do that ourselves anyway, because we are the only ones that know what books we want to keep, what magazines we want to keep or toss or donate or give away or sell, or all our old work papers, or, you know, like old, you know, I've got old scripts from auditions, and which I've gotten rid of a lot of them, but everything's kind of online. I've got old ideas and magazines if I get more serious about selling insurance again. But the bottom line is I never had passion for that. And not only that, I never made a lot of money at it. I mean, most people, 90% of all insurance agents quit within the first couple years. And I think the same thing goes for like actors, substitute teachers for sure. Kind of deters you from going on to becoming a permanent teacher. Very tough job. A lot of crazy kids. Well, we have to be so careful. When I say crazy, you know what I mean, like totally out of control, you know, almost panic room, absurd behavior in the rooms. And, but that's not as easy as it looks, you know. I used to think I had friends that did that, and they were regular teachers while I was out there peddling insurance, getting the rejections, driving all over, getting lost, trying to close sales. Because, you know, if you don't work, you don't eat. If you don't close the sale, you don't make any money. You know, back in the news business, you know, trying to get all those little newspaper jobs, trying to track down a little story, get the picture, get the, you know, I mean, one time somebody even, like, you know, another employee set me up with a bogus camera that didn't work, and, you know, lots of stuff like that with damaged film. You know, there's a lot of meanness that goes on. But overall, most people are pretty nice. I've met over the several decades, nice people pretty much. But, you know, the thing of it is a lot of people are not so nice. And in the workplace, I mean, not everybody in the workplace is your friend, or your competitors are not your friends. But I do think I'm being called to put together maybe some projects if I can get enough people to work with me. It's very difficult to do that by myself. I am kind of sort of working with people a little bit on stuff like that, some little projects, but I still have a lot of ideas and scripts that I've started for my own projects. But I feel like my calling, at least with this YouTube thing or whenever I'm online in a video, sometimes I feel called to just tell people to keep going. You know, life is not as bad as it looks. You do have a little more control than you think you do. Don't let the, you know, certain media make you feel helpless or install too much doubt and fear into you. You know, don't feed all the, I guess we could call them parasites or whatever in our body that's, you know, like negative stuff, or like with the junk food, like, but sometimes I'm on such a tight budget, I just get drawn to having junk food, not junk food, but when I say like processed, you know, like frozen dinners or TV dinners or pot pies, or I'm finally off, I think, the chips or cookies or whatever, anything processed, because if you look at some of the stuff, we do have to be careful. But they're basically cleaning a lot of that stuff up, including the fast food. I do think that RFK Jr. is cleaning up a lot of this food, but it takes a while. But in order to be who you want to be and who you feel called to be, in my faith, I'm a Catholic Christian, you know, who God wants me to be, but some people feel called by their religion or whatever, but I don't think people call people to be mean to others. And I do think that the meaner someone is to you or other people, probably the more unhappy they are with themselves, even if they act like they're not at the time, because at the end of the day, you know, even if you live to be 99 like my grandmother, this life goes pretty fast. You know, as an older person, I'd like to tell you it goes very quickly. And you do have to stay engaged and involved with your life. It's hard when you let your financial limitations get in the way, because where there's a will, there's a way, like my mother used to say. And, you know, there's a lot of things that we can do. But it is more discouraging when you get older, because you don't always have that quick energy like when you're younger. You like go, go, go. You do a lot of things without thinking. You say a lot of things without thinking off the top of your head. And sometimes that gets you in trouble or situations. And when I was younger, I used to jump into a lot of situations, whether in dating or with friends or in jobs or work opportunities, you know, with different things, you know, apartments or whatever, and thinking this is like, but at the end of the day, you still have to weigh your decisions. So it's like, you know, and we're all like fed this advertising stuff, which, you know, I tried to audition for commercials and things myself, or trying to get into the voiceovers just because I'm older and don't look like, you know, that, you know, like when I was younger, looked a little more glamorous, like, you know, maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, whatever, well, let's see, whatever, well, 20, 30, okay, so, you know, you get the idea. So anyway, okay, so there's my dog now. Okay, so we'll be going out in a minute, walking and stuff, but let me get him up here so he can, oops. Okay, so, yeah, so that's all. I mean, I'm just saying that a lot of times we're called to do certain things in life, in our jobs, and that's my dog sneezing now. It's still kind of warm here, and there's been some allergies. So, you know, out in the air and everything, weeds and pollen and all that still. So, but that was like the big picture, right? I've just sort of made a full circle, but my main theme here today was, we're called to a calling, and I don't think that everyone is called to do the same profession their whole life. And I think people grow and evolve and change, and I also think that some people are not meant to be friends with, or, you know, you can always be friends with people your whole life, but to hang around the same people all your life, you know, not everyone is blessed to find the right person when they're younger and stay with them. Hey, more power to them. God bless them. You know, like, you know, that's great that they found that. But some people had to go through maybe some childhood trauma or different healing experiences that and different things that they went through and realized that maybe they were like being maybe talked down to and not encouraged to have the confidence in themselves and their own you know, decisions, and that can affect people when when you're always doubting yourself. So, but yeah, whenever you see the news about certain people, regardless of whether they're very young or older, you realize that we're just here for a short time. And even if you live to be 99, like my grandmother said, the day right before she passed, she said, in the hospital, she said, you know, she just remembered the other day when she was like in third grade. So that's when people get really older like that, really old. They just start like reliving their youth really quickly, and everything just seems like a flashback, like it was just the other day. It's so bizarre, and it's just that we're called to different things, but I think if you do have a higher purpose in life, then basically that gives you a greater sense of happiness and peace that you can't really always find chasing the latest shiny object, you know. You know, so basically, I guess that was mainly it, you know. And it was so funny because I was actually goofing off. I was watching a video. I mean, I don't have a regular job right now, anyway, so I need one. But you know, I was just doing the auditioning right now and trying to get some job interviews. But in selling, I can sell those Hot Mom products that Angela sells. Angela Shelton has these great with the Sacred Circus. You know, I showed you a lot of her products before. They're so healthy and everything, and I can get those out another day. But I have them on some of my other videos. About 3 or 4 of the videos have a lot of the products on there. But basically, it's just me. And I was watching a video and about casting and, you know, with actors. And that happens, you know, not only when casting, what I'm getting ready to talk about for hopefully just a few minutes. So it's the same thing that happens when people hire people for jobs. Like, people take one look at somebody and go, no, she could never be a news reporter. Okay, well, I have never been cast as a news reporter. And I was actually a news reporter in real life for almost 10 years. So, you know, put that in your hat and smoke it or whatever. So, you know, and that was when I was younger, in my 20s, you know. And I have a degree in journalism, news editorial, and but it's like people when they're casting, some people, not all of them, there's a lot of really good ones. The hard part when you're an actor is to meet the nice ones, or to meet the ones that will meet with you and talk down to earth with you, because a lot of them kind of hide in ivory towers. I remember even one of my agents, one of the first agents I got in LA, sort of hid like that. They have to, and they weren't even like representing like big people. They were representing people like me, actually. But that was probably the more reason they had to do that, because you know, maybe some people go out. See, I never had a lot of confidence in myself as far as praising, because we were put down a lot in life by my dad mainly, and then even with the nuns at school. So, but you know, on the other hand, that sort of helped me with all this stuff that's going on in the world today, all the rejection and the craziness. But back to this video, they were talking about how sometimes it's like a person is cast by, it's like 30% is like your acting ability, your chops, you know, and then about 30% do you really carry the essence or look like that part of? Are you really a quirky person? Are you just like acting like a quirky person? Or are you really a serious person? Are you just acting like an in-depth dramatic person? Or are you more the comedic type, whatever? You know, they have these little boxes, you know, these little, it's almost like a wheel. And so then 30% is based on what your essence is. Well, my essence is based on how I'm dressed. Now, right now, I'm not dressed up at all. So, but when I get dressed up for interview, it depends on what it is. Or back when I was full-time selling insurance on strictly commission, which was very stressful and very difficult. And so you can burn up a lot of gasoline doing that, and you can even not make money and be really scared about your income, just like being an actor. So, but you know, you can be more dressed up, more professional. But basically, it's like your looks, and then your personality. And let's see, does that comes up with like 90%. And then 10% of it is just like, I personally think, and they left that part out, luck, timing, in the right place at the right time. But that's only about 5 to 10% of it. And also if you just kind of click with those people. And, you know, just like in real life, whether it's in dating or with friendships or people or whatever situation, even with pets, like when I met my pets, they immediately loved me, fell in love with me, I fell in love with them. And they can be a handful at times, but it's like the other day I was trying to help a neighbor with the harness on their new dog, and their dog was really, he wasn't like having it. It's just like the dog was sort of not, kind of, you know, Larry anyway. So I finally explained how to put the harness on his brand new dog for his daughter. Brand new dog, okay, little, and a rescue too, you know, so they're always. But the dog seemed to totally click with the new owner. So, and his daughter. So that's really great. So just like my pets totally clicked with me. Well, the same thing happens with people. Some people just don't click, whether it's friendship or opportunities or jobs or an interview, audition, dating. And I think it's harder, you know, when you're like a woman and you're older and not as cute as you were, like somebody like me that I'm older and not as cute as I used to be, whatever. I'm smarter though. And believe it or not, I probably talk less now. When I'm with a person, you know, I'll let them talk. I'm trying to, you know, do like a little talk here. But I might do another live, trying to figure out what time of day is the best time to do that. But anyway, that's all. I mean, it's like, that got me thinking about, you know, am I doing all that kind of stuff. I did, like, if people like you or they don't buy your product, at least with the product, like when I sold advertising or insurance, it's like a lot of times it's just because they don't like your product. But a lot of times it's, they have to like you and you have to click with them. You know, if you're going to work together on getting different kinds of coverages and everything. And I renewed all my licenses for that. It's just not that easy. You have to have, you know, if you're on your own, more insurance, you know, for your business, and it gets expensive. But not unless I work for another agent. I'm still open, if somebody hears, to help another agent in their office versus going to work at, you know, Jack in the Box or someplace like that, which I'm open to doing that too, but at my age. But or, you know, some other retail job, which I've done that before too, and the call center thing and everything. But on the big picture thing, it's like, you think about it, certain people just have a certain essence, and they have to, you know, I guess, you know, as actors, we feel like, oh gosh, you know, doesn't seem fair, or whatever. They won't ever see us, or they always see certain people. But they're inundated with so many people, and they're in all kinds of time constraints, and they don't want to take any chances on new people. But also, it's because they have to see you in that character. So that's, of course, why you have to have auditions. You can't just send in all your old clips and then hope that they like you in those and go hire you. Now, if you're a big time star, they might have already seen you in several movies and that were all done on a very professional, high level. And that's a whole nother thing because most of the time your auditions are done, it's just me. I'm not a cinematographer, okay? I mean, I'm just kind of wondering if my head shows in this one because today I tried to do it the way you're supposed to, like stand, the camera behind and talk into the camera, as if I had a camera operator on the other side of me. A lot of times I've just done it as a selfie video, but then I'm not really talking into the camera and maybe people think I don't care about them or something. I don't know. So I'm not being personable or whatever. But anyway, but that got me kind of thinking. But see, then when you start thinking of all that, that's when you can get a little down and think, well, then you think, well, for me, I'm kind of a quirky, serious person because I went through some trauma growing up and different things were kind of serious, but I tried to laugh them off or dismiss it. And a lot of people do that, and that's a coping mechanism, you know. But at the end of the day, that's really you too. I mean, you are all of those things, and but sometimes people just carry a certain essence. But everybody can be kind of moody too. And like if you're trying to be that character, you may come in as a different character in a different mood, and then you're immediately like thinking, oh my God, I gotta act more like this character. And so then all of a sudden you're that person. But we're all first of all, we're not robots. And as we all worry about AI taking our jobs, whether we're a cashier at the store or selling insurance, it can be done by robots. Maybe that would be, I don't know, maybe they'll do better. But, good luck when you have a claim or something and can't get a hold of your regular sales agent or talk to them about the policy. I'm going to go ahead and turn this phone silent a second. I get lots of sales calls and stuff. So it's like online, we all try to present ourselves as being so much more successful than we are, but fake it till you make it, right? And we do need to be into positive thinking because it does work. I was just listening to some things not long ago, about visualization. Bob Proctor has some great videos on that. He was a marvelous person, and he's left a legacy with all his videos and all his books and tapes and everything. But that's all. I mean, we're just, even if we live to be 99 like my grandmother, it still goes very quick. And we can't really beat up on ourselves if we are not everybody's cup of tea. And, maybe at the end of the day, maybe we're not their cup of tea either. And that can go for friendships or relationships and or with work or just lots of different things. So it's just a lot to think about, and it's the main thing is to think, am I being who I'm supposed to be? And I think I get some of that because of being raised with a lot of faith and everything. But I do think that I have, and I think a calling can be, I'm almost done with the circle. I'm getting there. Okay, we're like here. So a calling can be, and I think that's part of my calling. I think I've had many callings in life, and I've done a number of different things because I feel like if you feel a strong desire to do something or explore a goal or whatever, you should go for it. But also, it's okay if your calling is just to encourage other people, which I try to do with my videos, or basically just make people feel like it's okay to be you and you're enough and all that stuff. But also, do the best you can on trying to reach your goals and dreams. But if they all don't come true by a certain age, you know, and you did everything, if you know that you did everything in your power to make it happen, or if you are aware of the mistakes that you've made along the way that might have deterred it or delayed it or kept it from happening, then own it. But don't worry about it. For whatever reason, maybe you just weren't supposed to, or maybe, you know, for me, I just wasn't supposed to do, you know, whatever that was that I thought I was supposed to do. Okay, so just hang in there, and it'll get better, and it does. And every day is different, you know. Tomorrow's another day to do things. Like, I got a lot done yesterday. I was very proud of myself. I just tackled the day from the beginning till late last night, and I got kind of tired. I get on a roll when I'm trying to accomplish things. I've done that in all my jobs, careers, businesses, whatever I've been trying to do. I do that. A lot of people do, you know. But anyway, oh, and I took the sea moss gummies. Have you tried those? I got some at the grocery store. They do help you with your energy and health. So, but anyway, that's all. Over and out, guys. Have a good one.